You're watching Speak Up for Blue TV, the only place where you get the latest, greatest, and not so greatest ocean news happen around the world. And also, you get my opinion on it. And who am I? I'm Andrew Lewin, founder of SpeakUpForBlue.com, a website dedicated to support the ocean conservation movement through awareness, education, and action. Welcome to the Monday show. Today we're going to talk all about marine mammals because there are two major stories that came out over the weekend about marine mammals that I think I need to share with you. Our first story deals with eating mammals, meaning whales, seals, dolphins. Now, of course, we all know of a movie called The Cove, which documents a large killing at certain times of the year of pilot dolphins or pilot whales. Just a massive slaughter. And of course, there's a huge outcry on it. And when this movie came out, it opened everybody's eyes. So I suggest you watch it because it will open your eyes. But it opened everybody's eyes to this killing and the fact that people are eating whale and dolphin meat and marine mammal meat all the time. So people ask me after, Andrew, does this happen all over the world? And I didn't know because I was surprised, just as surprised as they were about it. So when this study came out that I found out yesterday from the Wildlife Conservation Society, it stated that 114 countries since 1990 have consumed 87 different marine mammal species since 1990. I mean, this is amazing. Why since 1990 have they increased so much? We don't know. But we're talking about people eating dudgongs. We're talking people eating humpback dolphins. I mean, this is the Atlantic humpback dolphin. I mean, this is ridiculous because, to be honest, I don't get eating marine mammals. I can't fathom the idea because I have such a strong connection with mammals. They remind me, they have similar behavior to humans. They remind me of sort of like that colleague type thing, and I study them and I value them so much. So for me, it's hard to make that connection, but I guess these people actually feel that they can eat marine mammals. But the reason why a lot of people are concerned, especially the researchers in this study that just came out, is that marine mammals are long-lived species, and a lot of times long-lived species only reproduce once or twice a year, and they only produce one or two offspring. So when you're looking at setting up a long-term fishery for something like a dolphin or a dudong, and a dudong, for your information, is cousin of the manatee. It's very similar, that elephant-like. They call them the elephants of the sea. They live in rivers. They eat underwater plants and everything like that. Very gentle animals. But with these types of long-lived species that only reproduce, once a year, one or two offspring, if you set up a long-term fishery, eventually the marine mammal is going to go, the population is going to go down, and until the point where there's only going to be like 500 left or 100 left, and then everybody's going to be like, oh my God, like we've got to protect the species, and then there's going to be huge action towards it. But a lot of times it's going to be already too late. We may lose the species because of this fishery. So right now, we need to conserve these species. We need to figure out more research. And what happens is a lot of the authorities and conservation organizations are looking to local communities in isolated areas, such as like First Nations up in Canada, the Inuvialuit people, who actually eat whale meat and seal meat and belugas and bowhead whales and whatnot. But they do it sustainably. They've been doing it for centuries, and they only take a certain number of species every year so that more species are allowed to come back, because they understand they understand the consequence that if they eat too many of the species, if they overfish them, they won't be back. And when you're in an isolated area, you don't have any type of food coming in, you have a problem. So organizations and authorities are actually working with First Nation groups and other groups who are in isolated areas up north to protect marine mammals. Because what happens when you protect marine mammals, you protect the local community. So you're looking at that socioeconomic impact. And you understand, and what you also do is you also get the combination of the authorities knowing the science, the policies, and the regulations involved, and the local people who know the local trends of the dolphins, and the marine mammals, where they go and where they don't go. So you get a really good team set up, a really strong team set up, and you empower both sides, the organizations and the local people. Now, of course, in the tropics is where the marine mammal consumption is growing, and authorities are working with local communities to involve them in the process so that they understand, the local communities understand the consequences of overfishing. What will happen if you overfish and there are no more marine mammals to eat? So more often than not, the local communities that are living off the land for ocean strategy are good ocean stewards, like I said before, and as they observe the patterns of nature and respect it. However, it's when the outsiders that come, the big commercial companies that come and they want to maximize profits by catching as many mammals as possible or fish as possible in most cases and selling them to maximize profit without worrying about the local community, and they just disregard their customs and they disregard what they feel, how they feel, and what they want to get out of this kind of deal. And a lot of the times they leave the area when they've over harvested everything, and they leave the community without anything to eat for the next 50 years, and they just destroy their entire environment. So there needs to be a lot more research to find out why people are eating more marine mammals than they have in the last 20 years or so. One hypothesis is there aren't any fish left, so people are either going down the food chain to invertebrates or now moving up the food chain to larger predators such as marine mammals such as dolphins and dudgongs and whales and so forth. So I wanted to tell you this story because this needed to come out. Share the story because we need to find out why this is happening, because this is not a good thing. A long-lived species reproducing only once a year with 1 or 2 offspring is not a good fishery to open up. And speaking of conservation and protecting marine mammals, we're going to go to our second story, where a group of environmentalists joined forces to sue the US government over Navy exercises being conducted along the west coast, stretching from California all the way up to the Canadian border. The suit against the National Marine Fisheries Service wants to prevent the U.S. Navy from conducting any exercises that uses sonar, especially in areas that are biologically critical for feeding and breeding. And the major animal that's concerned is the orca, which is endangered in the U.S. and it inhabits the waters off the coast of Washington all the way up to British Columbia, and sometimes even the Arctic into Alaska. Orcas and many other marine mammals use echolocation, and they use it to hunt, they use it to communicate with their other animals in the pod, and they also use it to attract mates. So the fact of the matter is, when you use sonar in water, it actually affects the hearing of anybody. For instance, if a human was in the water during a sonar or even seismic technology, which is again emits a loud noise and used in the oil and gas industry to explore for gas, natural gas and oil. If a human was in the water at that time, our eardrums would be shot. That's how loud this noise is. And for marine mammals who are larger, they can actually take the noise a little bit, but what happens is it raises their hearing threshold. And what that means is, the best way to explain it is, if you had earphones into your MP3 player, your iPhone, or whatever you have, and you listen to your music at a really loud level, the maximum level, for say a week straight, and then you actually, or even just a couple of hours, and then you actually listen to the same music just after that, but at a lower volume, you won't be able to hear the music as well. It's because your hearing threshold was raised because you've been listening to such loud music levels for so long. So if this keeps happening, eventually you're going to lose that part of the hearing. You won't be able to detect lower volumes of music. And the same thing is worried. Scientists are worried about the same thing for marine mammals. They won't be able to, it's not that the fact that they can't listen to music, but they can't listen to their other pod members. They won't be able to hunt, and they won't be able to breed because they won't be able to attract a mate. So that's the major issue. But the thing is, you think it's an easy issue to solve. Stop emitting noise in the water because you're affecting the whales. But the problem is the science isn't perfect. As usual, that's always the case. And why isn't the science perfect? It's because you're dealing with large animals that swim over great distances. It's hard to actually get them in a laboratory setting, either in a big aquarium or somewhere like that, where you can actually conduct experiments. And to be honest, it's actually inhumane. If you're trying to see what the difference is in hearing, you're going to have to expose marine mammals to really, really loud noises and then bring it down and see if they actually can hear or not. To be honest, I think that's pretty inhumane. So it's very difficult to conduct studies. You almost have to go based on theory, and some smaller studies have been done on smaller mammals like beluga whales have been done on that. Other studies have been done in the field to find out if migration patterns are affected by noises. I know bowhead whales, one study was conducted up in the Beaufort Sea on bowhead whale migration to find out if noise from the oil and gas industry has actually affected their migration route. But the problem is, again, the science isn't perfect. There are too many factors that come up that may disturb migration patterns at that particular point. So more research is obviously needed, as usual. But the other problem is you're dealing also with the US Navy. Now, of course, when the Navy wants to conduct exercises, and historically they're allowed to because it comes down to the defense of the country, which, to be honest, is important. But how important is it compared to affecting or potentially affecting an endangered species, especially something iconic such as orcas? So I'm really happy that the Environmental Coalition actually did this lawsuit, and I wish them the best of luck because they're going to need it, because you're going up against the US Navy, and they previously lost a court ruling back in 2008. So from Speak Up for the Blue to these environmental organizations, I wish you the best of luck in this lawsuit. You are going to need it, and I hope the best outcome comes out for the orcas and other species that are affected by sound. And that's our show for today. But before we go, I want to leave you with the question of the day, and it goes back to our first story. Do you think it's right to eat marine mammal meat? I really want to know how you feel. Put your answer in the comments below. And of course, all the time, remember, share this video with your family, friends, networks. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to get more. This show goes 4 days a week from Monday to Thursday. You know, I'm trying to put out the best stuff I can get. If you have any advice, let me know, and I'll try to improve. But until then, I'm Andrew Lewin, founder of SpeakUpForBlue.com. Happy conservation.